Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dr. Stacy Heimberger, and this is Weight Loss Made Simple. I want to talk about something today that can feel really uncomfortable in real life, and it's about this concept of letting go. So, the concept of letting go. Because sometimes the hardest part about changing something or wanting to start something new isn't actually about what we are doing. It's not our action steps to move forward. It's actually what we're willing to set down and let go and sort of free ourselves from. So, the hardest part of making progress is not about adding more willpower or finding more motivation or deciphering the perfect plan. It's about letting go of the old stories, the old rules, the old patterns. Those are what are keeping us stuck. Okay, so that's a pretty important concept, and it's easy to say and sometimes harder to do in real life. But this episode is kind of at the end of summer, and it feels like a perfect moment. You know, the last couple of episodes have been about setting new routines and transitioning. And so I think this is the perfect add on to that small series. This idea of letting go of the past, letting go of that baggage. And so I'm going to walk you through sort of the three categories or three most common types of baggage that I see most of us carry around. And then we'll talk about why it's so hard to let go. And then I'll give you, of course, some practical tools and tips of how to move forward. So this is a warm-up. This is episode 99. Next week will be episode 100. And I'm going to share some things on that episode that I think you're really going to enjoy. So make sure you come back for that one too. All right, baggage number one. Let's be real. Most of us are not just carrying around a little extra physical weight. There is a lot of emotional and mental weight that we carry around. And this idea of our old diet rules, I think, is the hardest one to let go, or the heaviest one, if you want to do that. So these old diet rules are very heavy, and they're so patterned and so ingrained. Lots of us have been on diets for most of our lives, right? And so diets are full of rules and restriction. And then it gets us into this idea of being good or bad. Okay, so food is not good or bad. There is no morality to your pizza, okay? You eating pizza does not make you a good person or a bad person. When we have dieted for years and years and years, and we have all these old rules, it is hard to let that go. We need to let go of that. Food is just food. I teach a good, better, best system because when we think of food as bad and we have these diet rules that encourage that, it actually encourages us to binge eat or overeat. And this idea that it's bad or sexy or like we're being rebellious when we eat something we shouldn't eat, right? So if we can start to let go of those rules and just know that food is food, okay? It solves hunger. There is a problem it solves. It is hunger. It is something we need to eat for fuel, okay? And we either eat for fuel, for feelings, or for flavor, okay? And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. So these old diet rules of what is good, what is bad, what carbs, like how much we should eat, and if I just keep track, I can be perfect. It is so heavy to carry all of that around. When I started eating differently and when I decided to try to give up sugar just to feel less hungry, I ate bacon every morning, right? And there's lots of diets that'll be like, bacon's the best, bacon's good, bacon's bad, bacon's horrible, heart disease, right? There's so many labels people like to put on bacon, good or bad. And we do that with every food. And all of these diets have a tendency to contradict each other, and then it's confusing, and then we get overwhelmed, and then we just don't want to do any of it. So, the first baggage I'm asking you to let go of are all these old diet rules. I'm just going to set them free, okay? The second heaviest baggage, or the second rule, the second weight I want you to let go of is past failure, okay? There are all of these statements we make about ourselves, which are just thoughts, by the way, these sentences in our heads about our ability to lose weight that we don't always even hear that we're saying. So these things like, I always quit when it gets hard, I'm good up until dinner, I can be really good for this amount of time and then I'm bad. I can stick to something for this amount of time. My people are just big. I'll never lose my butt. I'll never be less than a size 12, right? There's all of these stories that we tell ourselves, and the ones about our weight and any time we've attempted to lose weight in the past can really be so detrimental when we're trying to start something new. So when we say things like, I never stick to a plan for longer than 6 weeks, every time I lose weight, I gain it back plus some. When we say things, we're saying them like they are fact. Okay, and they're just a story. They are just a sentence in our head. But the way our brain works is when we have these thoughts and we say these sentences in our heads, we then have feelings about it, which drive our actions, and those actions are always going to reinforce that thought. So when we have thoughts like, oh, I always gain the weight back, we are kind of putting that into the universe. Like, we are going to make that happen. We are going to gain the weight back because we keep telling ourselves these lies about our abilities or whatever we did in the past, and we're interpreting them as either our personality, a character flaw, or just fact, and they're really just not. They're interpretations of events that happened in the past, and the past has no bearing on what we do in the future. It does not matter what diets we've done in the past. If you are listening to me, you're trying something new today, okay? And so new is totally different. What we are going to do from this point forward can be totally different than anything we've done in the past. And so the past does not dictate our results from the future. So really watch these old diet stories, all of these things we interpret as facts, all of these past events that we are making somehow 100% accurate about our future, because that's just not how it works, okay? All right. The third one is our body hangups. And you know I get really worked up about this because it's so sneaky. We've usually been saying such mean things to ourselves about our body that we don't even realize we're doing it. And we have this misconception that we will magically like our body when the scale hits a certain number. And it's just not going to happen. That's not it, right? It's this arrival mentality. Like, when I get there, things will magically be better. Like, confetti doesn't fly from your ceiling when you get on the scale and hit your goal weight. And if you've been saying mean things about your body all up until that point, nothing magical happens on that day. If your goal is 140 and you hated your body at 141, 1 pound is not going to magically make you like your body. Okay? When we say these things to ourselves and we carry this body shaming with us through our weight loss, it just saps your confidence. And confidence, by the way, is a feeling that we can generate with our thoughts. So let's just put that out there. We can build confidence right now, no matter what the scale says. And then when we're confident at 141, when the scale does hit 140, we do feel confident. But it's not the scale. It's the work we did in our minds. It's the mindset shift that we've done to make us feel confident when we get to our goal weight. Okay, so body hangups, we have got to let that go. It's like a sneaky little saboteur that we do not want anywhere with us. So let's talk about why we need to let it go and why it is so important. The shame that comes from those three pieces of baggage, right? These diet rules, this fear of failure again, and this body shaming, it sets us up for such failure because it really sets up this idea of perfectionism and this idea that I have to do it 100% right. And it can really derail us if one thing goes wrong during the day. And life is going to go wrong during the day. Life never goes the way we think it's going to go. So when we get into this perfection, this all or nothing mentality that comes from like, I'll just follow the rules. I'm going to fail anyway because I always do. And I'm disgusting when I look in the mirror, right? When we've got all of that baggage and then we have life happen and we don't do it perfect, it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to say, I'll just start again tomorrow. Right? So when we can let go of that and start just being more open to the progress, to the plan, like just little baby steps and being consistent, we are set up for so much more of a chance of success. Okay? When your brain, let me tell you this about your brain. Your brain is literally wired to cling to the familiar. Okay? I say change is hard. But this is why. Familiar, even if it's painful, is the known. And our brain does not like the unknown so much. It's so afraid of what we don't know that it will stay in a painful known situation. Okay? Does that make sense? So even if it's painful, familiar is better than unfamiliar. This is why people stay in jobs that they hate or relationships that are not serving them or go back to the same diets that didn't work before, right? Because the known, even if it sucks, is more comfortable for our brain than the unknown. So, change is difficult, right? Our brain hates change. This is why familiar is safe, even if that safe spot sucks. And our brain is wired to keep us safe. So there is a reason we hang on to all that baggage. And there's a reason it's hard to let go. Because even though it's so painful to hang on to it, we know it. I think one of my coaches used to say it's like sitting down on a nail, right? We just keep doing it, but like we know it's going to happen, so it's not so bad. I don't know. Letting go, getting rid of that nail in the chair has to happen for us to have room to grow, right? Growth is on the other side of discomfort, and new and unfamiliar is very, very uncomfortable. Okay? So I want you to think of it as like cleaning out a closet. Sometimes it gets a little worse before it gets better, and it doesn't just take one time. Okay? So letting go is not a one-time event. Especially some of these things we've been telling ourselves over and over again for so many years, it's just going to take a minute. And so when you try and let this stuff go and it comes back up, that does not mean anything has gone wrong. It just means it's going to take practice. Anything worth having is worth practicing. Okay? Okay. So how can we start letting go? All right. We've talked about why it's hard. How can we do it? I think a tangible thing you could do this week is to get out a pen and paper or open the notes app on your phone and hit the microphone and just start talking. You can use that like a journal. I actually think there's actually a journal app too, right? Any journal type thing that you would like to do, and ask yourself, what am I carrying with me right now that is not serving me? So don't overthink it, just 5 minutes. What am I still carrying around that is not serving me? And you could say, like, not helping me move forward. Okay? You're going to be surprised what comes out when you put it on pen and paper or your notes app, right? Just thinking it is not the same. And I try and do this all the time because journaling's not my favorite. And so I try and just think through it. And I'm like, oh, I'm just journaling in my brain, right? I'm just journaling in my head. That doesn't work. Okay. We have to write this stuff down. So what are you carrying around that's not serving you, that's holding you back? And then we can just release it. Okay. Or start to release it. And then I want you to pick one other small action. Okay. So maybe we look at the three most common things and we see our diet rules. Okay. So maybe we stop labeling foods as good or bad. Maybe that's what we work on this week. Maybe we start to do some of our thought swaps when we hear some of our old failure stories coming in. So instead of I always quit when it gets hard, it's like, well, this time I'm trying something different. This time I'm going to concentrate on keeping going, right? And then any nice thing you can say about your body, honestly. So one rule or one story to let go of this week. So we can like write it on a piece of paper and burn it into the universe. If you are more northern than me, fall is started. Maybe it's nice enough you can have a fire. You can throw your diet rules into the fireplace. Whatever feels good. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but every little bit we can release will truly cause momentum. And momentum's like this big wheel we got to push, right? So this just starts helping push the wheel of momentum is by kind of like, if you think of all this baggage is like bricks in front of the wheels. We've got to get rid of the bricks in front of the wheels so that momentum can start. So we've got to let go of these old diet rules. We've got to let go of these old diet stories. And we've really got to let go of all of our body hangups, thinking that some number on the scale is going to change that magically. It's not going to happen. Okay, so we are going to write down what's one thing I can let go, and then we're going to put one tactical thing into practice this week, either like catching ourselves when we're calling foods good or bad, letting that go, rewriting our failure story, or saying one nice thing about our body, or one thing we're willing to do before we lose weight. Okay, just one little thing to carry momentum. So letting go is not weak. It is strong. Okay. It is so necessary. It is just as important as coming up with whatever your protocol or plan is or your workout is. Like we have to let this other stuff go. It is literally weighing us down, not just emotionally and mentally, but that's physically keeping the weight on us to not let this stuff go. Okay. So please share this with a friend and make sure you tune in next week for episode 100. And thank you so much for listening. Bye.